Today's episode is brought to you by a very tired teacher who barely survived October. Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm so excited that you've joined me today. For today's video, we're going to be discussing all of the books that I read in October, and October was a month, y'all. But we have made it. We've made it. If I stumble over my words, it's because this week was Halloween, it was a full moon, and it was Red Ribbon Week. God bless America. I barely made it out alive. Anyways, I did end up completing 10 books this month, which I feel like is pretty good considering all things. And I found some of my favorite books of all time this month. Overall, I had a great reading month. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. The first book I picked up in the month of October was My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. I actually picked this up in September, but I finished it in October. So this one is following our main character, Cassie, and Cassie is looking for a roommate. And she finds an ad in the paper that is crazy cheap. She kind of thinks it's a little suspicious, but she applies anyway and gets an immediate response. The response comes from Frederick, which is your friendly neighborhood vampire. But Cassie doesn't know that until she accepts the invitation to become his roommate and starts noticing some things. This is a cute little rom-com. Let me be honest about this one for a minute. I thought this was YA for the longest time because I would say like 90% of this book, it reads like YA. There are a couple of curse words here and there, but it wasn't anything that stood out to me. But we got to the end and there was a scene that I was not expecting. So don't go into this one expecting YA because there is a couple of scenes at the end. But overall, I thought it was quirky, I thought it was cute, I thought it was a fun time, and I recommend it. 4 stars. Fun fact about me, friends, is that if I am reading a book for too long, it really starts to taint my overall enjoyment of the book, and I think that's what happened here. Cutting Teeth by Chandler Baker. I had such high hopes for this one. I mean, look at it. So in this one, we're following a preschool where the 4-year-olds in this preschool start having these weird impulses that have to do with blood sucking, preferably their mothers. And the mothers kind of get together and they're like, okay, we need to figure out what's going on.
Then a murder takes place.
Sounds intriguing, right? However, the delivery was not it. I was really hooked in the beginning. They had me in the beginning for sure. I was intrigued. I was ready. I was page turning. I just found myself being bored, and I found myself thinking, like, didn't we just say that? It just seemed like it was so repetitive and it was so slow paced and nothing was really happening. And I'm sorry, but if you have a cover like this, I want some action. And then I read one of my new favorite books of all time, and that's Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Oh my goodness, I have always heard so much hype around this book, but never believed it until now. Look at the tabs, guys. I mean, come on. So this one follows our main character, Annie, and Annie gets a new teaching position in this small town where she doesn't know anybody, and she moves there all alone. And she's in that small town just trying to make her way around when she meets this woman named Sophie. And Sophie just kind of has a presence about her. She has a confidence that Annie just does not have. And Sophie offers to show Annie around and kind of take Annie under her wing. Oh, and did I mention that Sophie was a witch? And then friendship ensues. Oh my gosh, I love this. Let me tell you this, it is considered cozy horror. So there are scenes in here. It's not like killing or slashing or anything like that. It's just kind of things that I wouldn't read if you had a weak stomach, but that's horror for you. But overall, the friendship dynamic in here, the characters, the writing, this was perfection. And if you get any books on this list, let it be this one. 5 stars. Next, I was still feeling those Cackle, cozy, witchy vibes, and so I really wanted something similar to that. And I picked up The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Madonna. Now this has been on my radar since last October, and I've been really looking forward to it, and I finally picked it up. I did this book dirty because I should not have opened it up right after Cackle, because I wanted something like Cackle, and this is not like Cackle. Cackle is a friendship story and it's a wholesome story. This is a rom-com-esque sort of found family contemporary story, and it wasn't giving me the Cackle vibes. This one is following our main character, Mika Moon, and Mika is a witch. And nobody can know that she is a real witch, so she decides to take it upon herself to make these YouTube videos pretending to be a witch. Well, somebody actually takes her seriously and gives her a call and says, hey, I really need you to come and tutor 3 small witches for me. And from there, she resides in the Nowhere house where she proceeds to tutor these young witches. This was so cute. Again, I loved the found family aspect. There is a romance, but not enough to where I would consider it a romance. I don't really know. This one's an odd one. I just don't know exactly what to classify it as, but it was very cute, it was very heartwarming, and it was very wholesome. This next book is one that I've also been anticipating to read, and that is Dark Waters by Catherine Arden. This is book number 3 in the Small Spaces series. The first book is called Small Spaces, the second book is Dead Voices, and this is the third book. So this book actually follows a group of kids as it seems like every time they leave their house, they are running into some trouble. Their first book, they came into some scary scarecrows. The second book, they came into like this haunted house sort of a thing. And this one, obviously, you can probably tell what they got themselves into. This was by far my favorite book in the series. Even though I've heard people say that this was their least favorite book of the series, I loved this one, and I have a deep fear of the ocean, and I loved it. So the main characters' names are Ollie, Brian, and Coco, and they're all going out together with their parents to see this famous fish. So they're on this boat, and things just go haywire. And they find themselves on a deserted island, and things just go absolutely insane. I loved this one. Again, my favorite in the series. This was a 5-star for me. And then I kind of needed to break it up a little bit, and I picked up a graphic novel, and that's Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. If I were to describe this to you, I would tell you that this is the graphic novel version of short, scary stories to tell in the dark. You know that book that we've all read? We read it in middle school and high school that scared us to death? Yeah. This I feel like is the graphic novel version. This is a compilation of 5 different stories that take place in these really creepy woods. And let me tell you, these stories are really freaky and they're really entertaining. I think I wiped this out in like 20 minutes or so, but it was so entertaining and it was super spooky. And then my month just kept getting better and better from there. So I picked up The Family Game by Catherine Steadman, and I gave this 5 stars. I've always heard about this book, but never picked it up, and I actually picked it up audibly, and so glad I did. So this one is basically following this woman as she is going to marry into this wealthy family. And the thing about this wealthy family is that they're kind of strange. They like to play different games, whether that be physical games or mind games. Well, upon meeting his family, the woman was given a tape recording from his father, and she's told to listen to it on her own time while she's alone. The best part of this audiobook, guys, is that you can actually hear the tape recording, and you can hear it start up, and you can hear the voices go in and out. It's so good! This one took me by surprise. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, and the twist in here, okay, I kind of saw it coming, but it was so good. It was so good. I wasn't even mad about it, okay? I was delighted. I loved it. And then I picked up, I think, my favorite book of the month. And that was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Okay, let's talk about my friend Lisa here. I have read one singular book by Lisa Jewell, and it was okay. I don't even remember the name of it. This one, 5 stars, and I will think about it until the day I die. I think another reason why I love this so much is because I tandem read it, and I don't normally do that. And I would totally recommend that you do that. I don't think that if you read it audibly or physically, I don't think that you would get the full experience. I feel like you need to listen and read it at the same time. I love this book so much. So this one is following our main character, Alex, and she is celebrating her 45th birthday, and she's at dinner, obviously celebrating her birthday, when this woman comes up. And she's like, hey, it's my birthday too. I'm your birthday twin. And Alex doesn't really think anything of it. She's like, oh, that's awesome. And then goes back to her table. Well, this woman's name is Josie. And Josie takes it upon herself to get to know Alex a little bit more, because Alex actually has a podcast where different women get to tell their stories, and Josie has a story to tell. So Josie takes it upon herself to kind of intervene in Alex's life, and craziness ensues from there. Oh my gosh, guys, this was so good. Oh my gosh, this was so good. This might even be my top 3 of my favorites of the year. For sure, for sure. And I think, again, the whole reason that I enjoyed it so much was the fact that I was also listening to the audio, because the audio has the interviews, the podcast in it. So good. The next book that I picked up was a cute little cozy, and that's called Murder at the Pumpkin Pageant by Darcy Hannah. It was completely illegal for me not to pick this up in October. So this one is following our main character, Lindsay, and Lindsay owns a haunted lighthouse, and in that lighthouse she has built a bakery. And someone approaches her one day and says, hey, can we do a investigation of ghosts in your lighthouse and do kind of like a documentary on it? And she says yes, and that just happens to be the night that they are having a pumpkin pageant, which is where everybody dresses up in their Halloween costume and parties. Well, during the investigation that is also live on television, a dead body is found right outside her bake shop. This was super cute, and it was such a cute, fun fall time. I loved the descriptions of just everything Halloween in here. It obviously takes place on Halloween and a few days after, so I thought it was perfect. And then I picked up another graphic novel, and I actually borrowed this one from the library, and that is Misfit Mansion by Kay DeVault. So I heard this one described as Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and immediately ran to the library and picked it up. Could not agree more with that description, because this is exactly like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. So in this one, we are following our main character, Iris, and Iris, as well as the other people living in this house, are horrors, and humans do not like to be around horrors, so they're forced to stay locked up into this house and stay away from humans. Well, Iris is really upset about that because she wants human interaction. She sees all these people on TV and wants a chance to be like them. And so she makes it her mission to kind of blend horrors and humans together. Honestly, one of my favorite graphic novels of all time. And then lastly, throughout the month, I was listening to Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar. And I'm sure you know who Jill Duggar is, but just in case you don't, Jill Duggar was a co-star with her family on 19 Kids and Counting, as well as Jill and Jessa Counting On. So Jill actually has 18 siblings, and for that, her and her family were kind of idolized and focused on by the media. And also a huge part of why they were so popular is because of their traditions and their ways of life and just how different they were from your average family. So in this book, Jill kind of digs deeper into her relationships with her family, with her personal traumas, with the IBLP principles that her family taught her. And let me just tell you, this book was kind of hard to read. It was very emotional at times, and she really gets vulnerable with you, and I loved it. I'm not going to put any kind of rating on it because this is Jill's story to tell, not for me to rate anything. I would say if you watched the show or if you were a fan of Jill and Jessa, I would definitely pick this one up. It was very good. I forgot to mention that Jill actually narrates the audiobook, which just makes it that much better. Alright friends, that was all of the 10 books that I read in the month of October. Again, October was a month. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I do not think I'm going to read that many books in November, just because I felt like I was putting pressure on myself to read all the spooky, scary books in October, and so I was trying to read everything, and I'm just kind of burned myself out, and I really want to just kind of slow down. So expect less books next month, probably thicker books, and probably books that I just really wanted to read. Thank you so much for being here, friends. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you have not already, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you want to stick around, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.